Okay. So good morning again, everyone. Many thanks for joining us today to discuss about the energy transition from the community viewpoint. I will first introduce the context of today's event by presenting ePLANET project, objectives, and the stakeholder forum format. Then I will detail today's agenda, and we will start with the first presentations just after. So ePLANET project has four main objectives, which are to create a transparent and coherent harmonized information sharing platform and a database of energy transition plans, which includes best practices and indicators of energy transition measures. In addition to the creation of the platform, our aim is also to develop a collaborative framework for the development and updating of energy transition plans and to consolidate and institutionalize a network including multi-level stakeholders. And one way to entertain this network is through the stakeholder forums. They are a series of online meetings aiming to share the early results of the projects with potential users or beneficiaries. So far, we organized 9 forums, including today's one, on a variety of topics such as data display and dissemination, governance concepts, energy savings, and CCAP digitalization, for example. We were able to get inspired by external initiatives such as Terrestory, and we also presented different developments of the ePLANET platform. Now I will introduce you today's agenda. So as you can see on the screen, we will focus on the community perspective. So energy communities and more broadly community viewpoints, the community involvement are key components of the energy transition to scale up decarbonization investments while fostering citizens' ownership. We can notice this relevance is more and more reflected in the EU legislation and initiatives, which is giving a push towards common definition and legislative frameworks. However, citizens still face many barriers and challenges when they embark on the energy community adventure or even before. Some of the most commonly mentioned barriers are the lack of awareness, information, and expertise, but also the lack of legal and financial guidance. And we will try to tackle all these aspects today. So during this ninth stakeholder forum, we will first explore the barriers, challenges, and best practices explored in the scope of the ePLANET project. We will start with hosted in unique community experience. We will see how energy transition action can drive sustainable development for a whole community. We will then explore how energy communities are fostered in Girona province. We will also have the chance to learn more about the Minoan experience and lessons learned, but this presentation might happen a bit later in the agenda. In the second part of the forum, we will explore potential solutions and tools that might help overcome barriers and challenges. We will particularly focus on awareness raising, expertise needs, and filling gaps with different presentations on the energy citizenship concept, one-stop shops, and innovative financing schemes. Then Gerard Laguna will also give ePLANET input on energy data to uncover energy communities' potentials. We will also have 2 Q&A sessions, as you have seen in the agenda, one after the first 3 presentations and one after the end of the forum, at the end of the forum. But feel free to add your questions to Slido as soon as they pop into your heads, and do not forget forget them. I will leave these slides a few seconds more so that you can enter to the Slido page. I will also put the link later in the chat so that you can ask your question. Also, write them down during the presentations. So I hope you had a time to scan the QR codes, and we will now start with the presentations. And I will leave the floor to Thomas Perutka, Senior Project Development Manager at EASC, to begin with the very interesting story of Ostetin. Thomas, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be with you here today and to present, I would say, a unique experience of a Hostitin community. I wouldn't call it a energy community in a sense the European Commission understand that in a strict way. However, it's a kind of community that has been developing for long years, and nowadays it is a great example of sustainable development, not only on the local level, but it's even known beyond the borders of the Czech Republic. Can you see my presentation, please?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, so Ostetin is a village and municipality in Uherské Hradiště district in the Zlín region of the Czech Republic. The municipality covers an area of almost 4 square kilometers, so it's very small actually, and has a population of 2,220 inhabitants. It lies in the valley on the edge of the landscape park called White Carpathians, in a marginal area with no connection to natural gas and on the edge of an electric grid. We can call Hostitin one of the most progressive municipalities in the Czech Republic. Their forward-looking approach is complex, aiming at solving more than one issue at a time. It all started back in 1990s with the construction of the reed bed wastewater treatment plant that you can see on the pictures. This plant was built in order to abolish the building closure, and that was at that time valid at that area, and subsequently with the idea of introducing ecological heating of the village. So, as the second step, when the winter smoke load from the coal boilers activated the village leadership to take an action, the use of waste wood from the surrounding forest was seen as the suitable option, and the solution could be the replacement of all boilers with wood boilers or a central boiler room for wood chips. Following the example of some partners in Austria, the central biomass boiler room was chosen as the best option, and this central heating plant for the whole Hostitin with the biomass as a fuel was built with the installed power of 732 kilowatt hours, and it produces each year almost 1 gigawatt of heat. These steps actually led to prevention of depopulation, as well as to a general recognition of villagers and the municipality of the necessity to improve living conditions in Hostitin, and use of smart solutions resulting in better, more efficient and clean use of energies, better care of the environment, and also local sustainable development of agriculture and other small businesses. And in the picture we can see an example of the small business that is developing in Hostitin, because just at the center of this village is organic apple juice plant, which is producing fruit juices, supplying local market in the Zlín region and also in other regions, as is, for example, the South Bohemian region. So when you come to supermarket in our regions, you can find juices from this organic apple juice plant. Well, the most important thing is also in the center of Hostitin, as it's linked to Veronica Environmental Institute, because the educational activities of this institute, which actually has its headquarters in Brno, which is the second largest city in the Czech Republic. So this institute helped to raise environmental awareness in the community, in the local community. And as an important part of this, Veronica Institute built one of the first passive houses in the Czech Republic ever, if not the first ever. just in the middle of this village, to showcase the sustainable way of living in real conditions. All this was achieved thanks to the cooperation on the local level, with the involvement of all inhabitants of the municipality and the cooperation of the municipality management with important entities and local public authorities. To achieve municipality goals, it was necessary to have a balanced financial portfolio, obviously, as well which the municipality have managed to maintain outstandingly. Among the sources co-financing particular projects were international sources from the Netherlands, Austria, Germany, European funds, State Environmental Fund of the Czech Republic, and other regional incentives. Municipality itself, as well as several local individuals, have contributed to all these projects as well. So in the picture we can see the educational center of Veronica Environmental Institute, which is both a training center and actually a accommodation for people coming. Among other notable project in Hostettin is, for example, a public lighting, which is not producing a light pollution, or a big photovoltaic plant, which is installed next to the boiler room with installed power of 26 kilowatt hours, and it's situated on a slope above the heating plant. So when you are coming to Hostettin, from one end there's the boiler room, and next to it we can see this huge power plant. Well, these projects don't attract only the wide public, but also some notable people, as for example Prince Charles, which is actually now the King Charles, who visited this village in March 2010. Or, for example, Andrew Shapiro, ambassador of the United States to the Czech Republic, who came to see Hostettin during the Earth Day in 2015. So on this example, we can see that the fame of Hostettin is spread throughout the country and even beyond the borders. The municipality has already won several awards for its approach to the use of energy, renewable energy sources. For example, as the Energy Globe 2007 or the Czech Soul Award 2009. In 2020, Hostettin, along with 19 other European municipalities and regions, won the Climate Star International Award 2012. Municipality is the national winner of Energy Globe 2020, and electromobile on this picture is actually a award from one of these competitions. Just coming to the end of my presentation, to sum it up, actually, what is the charm of this municipality, and what is actually the core. So this municipality is an example of the continual and long-term development of a more sustainable, smart and environmentally friendly village. The beginning of the transformation has its roots in the second half of the 1990s and accelerated between 2000 and 2010, thus belonging to the group of leading rural communities in the Czech Republic. After more than 20 years of environmental efforts, the municipality has calculated the carbon footprint of the whole village, and nowadays it is less than 2.5 tons per capita, which is less than half of the average values of other municipalities in the Czech Republic. The goal of the municipality is to achieve carbon neutrality. How quickly this will succeed will depend on many factors, but mainly on the courage, determination and cooperation of all residents of the village. So I managed to be in a time limit. Thank you very much for your patience, and I don't know, I give the floor back to Nadej or to the questions.
Thank you very much, Thomas. I think if someone has a question now, we can ask Thomas. But otherwise, I think we can follow with the next presentation in the agenda.
Okay, I stop sharing. Stop sharing. Okay, yeah, done.
So now, and don't forget to all the participants, don't forget you can ask your question on Slido. I've put the link in the chat now. You should be able to click on it. But yeah, now let's see how Girona province supports the energy community creation. So let's dive into energy community topic. Thanks to the presentation by Isabel Cotza from Girona Diputació. Isabel, the floor is yours.
Hello, Nadesh. Thanks for having me today. I'm gonna share my screen. Let me know if you can all see.
Yes, perfect. It's full screen.
Okay. Great. So yeah, today I'm going to expose how from our administration, that is the province administration from in Girona, we foster the creation of energy communities. Of course, well, to make a spoiler, I would say that there are two key factors for us to facilitate these community projects, which is what I'm going to explain today. No need to say or no need to remind that people have to play a central role in the energy transition. Of course, now with solar panels and wind turbines, these are technologies that allow anyone to produce energy. So there's no need for these big corporations or these state-owned companies to build big power plants that costs millions of euros. Plus, these technologies must be the main producers of the energy in the near future. So we can say we have all the ingredients to empower people to make them an active player, someone who produces, consumes, sells, stores their own energy. But still, creating energy communities can be hard. Even if we would say we have the ingredients, it is hard to convince people to group together. So because these projects are cost intensive, we need to motivate people, and we need very enthusiastic people to carry out a project of this magnitude. So for us, we say we have one of the main ingredients. I said we had two main or key factors or two main ingredients. Let's say the first one is the role that local administration plays in this in facilitating the creation of energy communities, because energy communities is about people, is about knowing the citizens and knowing of the local needs and local groups and local organizations who could be motivated or who could be involved in creating these community projects. So for us, we found out, or we believe, local administration has this important role to play. But because of these reasons, right? Proximity, from local administration, we can encourage citizens to involve in this initiative. And of course, projects can be tailored to the local needs. But still, local administration can be many things. For us in Catalonia, we have 4 provinces, which are local administration, but still they are far away from the citizens. In Girona province, which is the one on the northeast corner, bordering France, we have 7 counties. That is closer to the people. But these 7 counties, or this province, has more than 200 municipalities. These are the ones, the local administrations that know the populations, that are closer to people. Problem is, municipalities usually don't have easy access to funds. And let's say, province administration have an easier access to funds, but they don't have the access to people. So we found out, or we designed this project that is has inter-administrative cooperation, has an important role to play. Let's say we have created, these are the municipalities. We're talking about very small municipalities here. Most of them have around 2,000 inhabitants. The city council knows their citizens by name, but they don't have funding. So yeah, this inter-administrative cooperation basically is an agreement between these three-scale administration: the province, the provincial council, the county councils, and the town councils, to create these energy transition offices. In the Catalan name, we call them OTE. So we have created these 6 OTE, 6 offices across the territory, throughout the Girona territory. Basically, the provincial council contributes with specialized technical personnel and gives access to funding. The county councils provide the infrastructure, which is offices in each county. And the town councils, of course, they have the knowledge and of local people and the resources and the needs of the local territories. So we managed to create these 6 offices thanks to the collaboration of these administrations. If some of you work in the public administration, know that collaboration between administrations, it's easier said than done. It is not easy, and it has taken more than 1 year, let's say, to meet an agreement between these different scale administrations. Now we have these offices created. Actually, some of them have been running for 3 years now. And from the territory, with the provincial funding and working with municipalities, for us, this is one main element, one of the 2 key elements to foster energy communities. The second key element, I think is here, is, of course, in those villages where we are helping create communities, perhaps there is not a previous interest among citizens in grouping and in developing a project. So we have developed, in these OTEs, we have developed an easy model for citizens. We have these 2 models of energy community. Let's say the first one, in which the city council is the promoter, is the entrance door, or the easy access for people to be part of a community. In this city council, in these communities where the city council is the promoter, let's say the city council is the promoter, the developer, and the owner of the photovoltaic installation. We are basically now talking about photovoltaic installation, but of course, any other renewable energy action could be included here. Then the electricity is distributed among public buildings and citizens who want to join the community in exchange of an annual tax. So here we say it's the easiest way to start a community because there's no legal entity required. People don't have to group together and legalize an NGO or other kind of organization. It's easily replicable from one municipality to another. There is no initial investment required from citizens. They just pay an annual tax, and in return, they get a share of the photovoltaic production. But it has also, this is a good thing, is it has a very pedagogical and exemplary value. Doing this first model, we have to get together with a lot of people, do a lot of meetings, explain how the sharing of electricity works, and they see how this is feasible. So yeah, it's a way for people to start learning about sharing electricity. Of course, the weaknesses of this model is it has a growth capacity limitation. I mean, the municipality or the city council cannot build a very big infrastructure, and because there are public administration limitations. Also, because it's not a legal entity, it has less access to European funds. So this is what we call Model 1 or City Council Promoter Model. It's when we don't know, or when we don't have, when we don't detect this group of motivated people in some of the villages, we work with the city council to have this first model. And this is like the seed that allows us to have later on the second model, which is the city council here works as a facilitator, but it's the energy community. It's established by citizens. Citizens are the owner of the installation. And here the city council with the backing of the office transition, with the energy transition offices, the OTEs that we are, so city council, but with the help, with our help, they find the funding, or they help these citizens to lead the way in this case. So this is I think this model is what most people think when they think of an energy community, right? Here is the real citizen empowerment. It's a legal entity, so it has more access to funding. Of course, it needs an active role of citizens. It needs people that's involved. It needs a lot of knowledge and expertise. Sometimes we have to be there because people there can be some mistrust or uncertainty. So we need to be there to reassure them and give them the example of other communities. And of course, there's always the difficulty, even if they have access to European funding, there's always difficulties in obtaining capital or investments. In that, we help them a little. So with these two models, where are we now after 3 years of having these offices throughout the territory? Not the 6 offices. The first ones, we started with 3 offices 3 years ago, and now we have 6 of them. It's been a progress work. Last year, 2023, let's say out of these 221 villages in the province, 53% of them had an energy community in some of the phases. In planning phase or execution phase or pending activation, or some of them are also already active. 47% of the municipalities still have, let's say, no community, not even planned. Some of these active communities, some of them are owned by the citizens, but it started with Model 1. It started with where the city council is the owner of the installation, and citizens just pay a tax. But from that seed we planted, this group of people got organized, grouped together, and formed their own community, which is what we are aiming at in the end. Of course, challenges and difficulties we have found. Of course, there's many of them. I guess you will have you will find the same difficulties, I guess, which is in Spain at least the lack of a specific national legal framework to define energy communities. So the European directive hasn't been yet really translated into the Spanish law system. There's also still limited culture of what we call culture of associationism. So the willing of people to get together, group together, and work together for a project, that we find that is hard. Then there's still too many administrative barriers with lengthy processing. When we form a community, especially when we have to deal with the distributor, that is the company that owns the electric grid, the administrative papers that we have to create, it can take up to a year, we have seen. When finally we have the people, we have the funding, and we install the photovoltaic panels, then still we have to wait up to a year to have it legalized and be able to use this electricity. Another problem, I don't know in your countries, but here we have an obsolete electrical network. Sometimes if we want to make a big installation, we find out that the grid cannot sustain it. And we either have to upscale the grid or update the grid, or we have to scale down the installation. I didn't mention it before, but out of these communities, that usually we start with small projects around 40 kilowatt projects, at least in phase one. Then many communities have enlarged these installations, but let's say an average project is around 40 kilowatt photovoltaic. Then when we talk about rooftops, we have a limited availability of rooftop to install solar panels there. Some of them, it's because they're in poor condition, or the materials, it's asbestos, which we cannot use. And then if we talk about putting solar panels on the land, the administrative, the legal processes are longer. So first, we always try to put it on rooftops. Then I think I would say there's still a lack of companies and experts in the sector, especially for community management. Then there's some legal difficulties to transfer public building roofs and land to citizens. Like if there's a citizen, if a group of citizens want to form a community and they need rooftops, sometimes the municipality transfers them the use of the public roofs, school roof, sports pavilion roof, but there has to be some legal agreement here, and it's not that easy in all the municipalities. Of course, the energy supply companies don't put things easy, and there's always the financial challenge, finding the funds. Even if the operation financially makes sense, still people have to put money up front to get the benefit back, and they need to understand very well what's this investment, how the investment works, and they need to feel safe. Where we want to get to, our goals for the near future, well, for 2030, we said in 3 years we have around 50%, a bit more than 50% of the municipalities of the province with some kind of some community energy established in some form. For 2030, our aim is to have all of the municipalities with an energy community established, and at least 30% of these energy communities should be managed and owned by citizens. So model number 2, not only model number 1, in which the city council is the owner. Then besides citizens and households, we would like to integrate businesses and industrial areas into these communities. We have some projects now, and we are taking steps towards involving industrial areas. They have big roofs, and some of them, like logistic companies, the need of electricity is not very high, so there's a potential there. We want to include them in the communities. always, we are doing that already, but of course we need to promote more energy poverty measures to make sure like no one's left behind. And besides the energy communities from these offices throughout the territory, we would like to foster other projects such as shared electric vehicles, perhaps thermal grid, energy efficiency projects, etc. So I'm not sure if I went too fast or too slow, but that's.
Thank you, Isabelle,
presentation.
for the very interesting presentation on Girona governance practices. So now on the agenda we have the presentation on the Minoa experience, which is also a best practice we explored within the ePLANET project, but we will have this presentation later in the forum due to agenda changes. So I would now go to the next presentation, which is part of, let's say, the second part of the forum, which is more on getting inspired by external projects and external initiatives. And we will have the Q&A session just after this next presentation. So don't forget to put your question on Slido. I see we already have some for Thomas. You can write your question for Isabelle now. And we will have a Benedetta presentation. So she will present EC2 project outcomes on empowering citizens. So Benedetta, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Nadesh. I'm going to share my screen. Should be in full screen.
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. Thanks, Nadesh, for the invitation. My name is Benedetta Buccolini, and I work as a justice, equity, and democracy expert at eCLAE Europe. I'm changing the slide. So before we start, 2 words about EC Square. EC Square is a Horizon 2020 funded project that explored the economic, social, and legal conditions that are necessary to enable a shift in our energy model. So going from a centralized energy regime to a decentralized one, characterized by energy citizens, so engaged individuals. So I would start from the definition of energy citizenship. In the EC Square project, energy citizenship is defined as people's right and responsibility for a just and sustainable energy transition. As you can see from the text, the definition entails 3 main crucial elements of the concept. So the people, energy citizenship requires a shift from considering individuals only passive consumers, but rather seeing them as active energy citizens, so that can make choice and that can actively play a role in fostering the transition. The right, so access to clean energy is a universal and democratic right. Therefore, everyone must be granted access to it. And the responsibility, so the role that people, together with governmental authorities, can play in fostering the transition and in the energy system, which therefore has to be adapted to accommodate citizen participation and engagement. However, this is easier said than done. There are a number of barriers that come with the implementation of the concept. To begin with, there are knowledge, skills, and information-related barriers. Here on the left, you can see the barriers and potential solutions. Take into account that they are not like 101, but like more general approach. So many barriers come from a lack of accessible, reliable, and clear information. There's actually an information overload. Individuals do not know where to get this information. They don't know where to to gather information from different fields, so financial opportunities as well as the legal frameworks they're acting in and so on. Together with this, there's a knowledge gap that has to be filled between the practitioners in the sector and individuals that have to pay their energy bills. And with this come a lack of technical, digital or social skills that are needed to engage in the system, but also to then put in place community energy initiatives or to become more active in the system. A solution to this could be the implementation of one-stop shops that could provide more integrated, comprehensive and clear information for individuals to promote more exchange and dialogue between the different disciplines, and therefore also like multi-level governance, and to promote tailored communication strategies that can target specific groups in one's community or context. This relates also to our second barriers, which are related to the financial context. As Isabel also said before, there's a lack of availability and awareness of financial opportunities, especially at the local level, which then we observed in EC Square that this can represent a major barrier to face those high upfront capital costs for individuals. It is the case in many EU countries or regions that financial resources are not made available, so there's a limited also credit access, and therefore people are left out from taking part. In this, the private role can and should play a role, the private sector, sorry. It is important to strengthen and ease the collaboration between the public and the private sector in promoting the redirection of funds towards community energy initiatives and individuals, and therefore mainstreaming those that are alternative and community-based business models. For all this to happen, there is the need to simplify and clarify what is a really complex and fragmented legal framework. Current energy systems are structured in a way that provides little agency for the majority of citizens. So what is required are concrete steps to support citizen involvement through enabling policies that can address issues of exclusion, inequality and inequality head-on, and to provide citizens with the right resources to actively participate. There could be the provision of institutionalized form of information and assistance, as one-stop shops can be. The implementation of EU directives that also Isabel now mentioned can represent a barrier, and the implementation can foster then also activities and initiatives at the local level. And as I just said, the simplification of the legal framework. Together with this, for meaningful and like real empowerment of citizens, one can't forget the social and psychological related barriers to participation. There is in fact a lack of representation and identification, especially for certain groups that are structurally and systematically excluded from energy transition, them being women, individuals in vulnerable socio-economic situation, ethnic minorities, or youth and elderly. Not only, there's also a lack of social identity and collective agency that can discourage people from acting or joining a social movement for a public goal. And in many cases, communities and local governments see co-creation or participation resource intensive and rather meaningless processes. However, there's the need to strengthen this representation, the inclusion, and facilitate the participation of those groups that are systematically excluded and that are therefore more at risk of suffering from energy poverty or negative environmental externalities. The creation of networks and social ties can facilitate this process, as well as resource and time planning for co-creation at the beginning, before therefore the in the design of those initiatives can play a role in fostering a more just and inclusive energy transition. In this process, energy communities can play a role, combining a number of aspects of energy citizenship. So people share the same environmental values, can promote certain environmental choices, they can foster community feeling, social networks, and the feeling of efficacy towards the reaching a common goal, as well as sharing the financial costs and benefits that come from energy transition. However, this is not a linear relationship. So the different renewable energy community setups can play a role in motivating people or discouraging people from taking part. We observed, for instance, that those setups that are joined, so that where there is more participation from individuals and communities, are more likely to take more people on board rather than exclusively owned and managed by the municipalities. And that's all from my side. I left some tips and additional resources on the slides that are going to be shared, I think. And yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Benedetta, for giving us some solutions to the barriers faced by many municipalities and citizens when they want to set up energy communities. I think now we can have our first Q&A session. So I will just have to share my screen. I've seen we already received some. Don't hesitate to put questions also for Benedetta in the Slido. So the first question is addressed to Thomas. So thank you for your presentation. And is the PV installation shared with the inhabitants in Hostetin?
Well, that's a complex issue with the grid owners and developing the energy communities. In a sense, the European Commission understands that, and in the whole the Czech Republic, not only in Hostetin, the issue is now being resolved within the legislative process. So not for now. The PV installation actually is connected to grid, and the grid transfers the electricity to the grid, and you buy through the energy operators. But in a course of time, it's planned that energy communities will be developing in the Czech Republic. It is planned to start within this year, and there are real options for such cases that the people will share the energy that is produced locally. But this process is just in the very beginning in the Czech Republic. We are a little bit behind, I would say. Does it make sense?
Yes, sure. And it also reflects the legislative barriers that are faced, and good to know that it's planned to also involve a bit more the citizen and to be beneficial to the citizens also. And also talking about the grid, we can see the next question. So you mentioned that you're in the edge of the power grid. How do you deal with grid shortages in Hostetin?
Well, they are not grid shortages actually. You know, there is a risk of that because it is at the end of the line, but they do not face this threat so much. Yeah, because the energy grid in the Czech Republic is stabilized, but yeah, it's better to have some other options, and in the future there's planned to this grid to be strengthened, but for a while there is a threat of that, but there are not shortages.
Okay, thank you. So last question for you. Can you tell us how the city wants to further reduce their emissions to achieve climate neutrality? As you were saying,
Yeah.
the different, yeah.
Yes, they are continuing in the process, and more and more PV installations are installed in the roofs of inhabitants. They have regular meetings in a collective center of Hostettin. There is a very important person there. His name is Radim Machu. He's a coordinator of many activities within Hostettin municipality, and actually they try to reduce more the CO2 emissions by installing the PV installations, which would be not only for electricity but also for PV water heaters, which is the PV linked to the heating of the water. Well, they will need soon update the boiler room because it's quite old, so I think it will strengthen that, because some people at some point still use not environmentally friendly fuels when it comes to the winter, and so in this way they are working as well, and I think they are on a good way.
Yeah. Maybe this is related to the last question that just came into the Slido. If you are also considering electrification of mobility sector and heat pumps on the follow-up activities.
Well, yeah, they had, as I shown in my almost the last slide, they started with electromobiles and as the leading example, that was the Veronica Center there. So yes, they want to just develop more discharging stations, and actually I need to say that within the national program environment or operational program environment, I'm not sure which one is it. There's some support from the national level to incorporate these charging stations in households or for institutions. And heat pumps, well, there is some support from the national level as well, and as far as I know, not only in the Hostettin but throughout the whole Zlín regions, many people turned to heat pumps, which was related to the gas delivery crisis linked to the war in Ukraine here. So yes, I would say the market with the heat pumps is developing rapidly, is growing rapidly now.
Okay, thank you very much for your answer, Thomas. I think we covered all the questions that were directed to you. Maybe now we can go to the questions for Isabel. So again, thank you for the interesting presentation. And the first question is, who shows down the administrative processes, and do you see a faster process being developed?
Who slows down the administrative processes? There's different steps. One actor that we always find there slowing down the process it's called Endesa, and it's the owner of the grid, let's say the distributor. It's a very big company. It's owns almost 99% of the national grid, and has no interest in putting things easy to people selling and sharing electricity, because it's also they also sell electricity. Besides that, there's other barriers, legal administrative barriers, especially if the solar panels are put not on roofs but on the ground. You need special permission, and it depends on where is this village. It takes longer. But yeah, let's say in the first communities we developed took around 1 year or 14 months, up to 14 months. I think now things are much faster, but still it takes time.
Yeah. I guess with the experience, things go faster. So your second question is how many energy communities are running in Girona province with all the administrative parts entirely accepted and sharing energy between users?
That we know of, because there might be some other community that didn't get help from the administration, but those who were who received our help or we promoted them, it's 8 now that they are already sharing electricity. Some of them are owned by the citizens and some are owned by the city council, but 8. But we have 5 which are pending activation. Everything is there. It's just waiting for it being activated. So yeah, we will have, I think in the coming weeks, there might be around 12, 13.
Okay. And is there any local policy incentive or digital tools to help citizens in creating energy communities? How to get to the 30% target? So we had this, you talked about these offices, energy transition local offices. Do they also provide tools to citizens?
Yeah, we can, yeah, we have different tools. We can help them with the project, like the basic project. If people have roofs and want to just have a first basic idea if that how much electricity could that those roofs produce if we put panels, we can do that from our offices. Then we also help them, or sometimes we help them financially to the we call it executive project, which is the detailed project to be built. So we help them financially with that. We also have these guides, 3 guides. One is how to create a community, the legal forms that can be used, NGOs, associations, cooperatives. We have different legal procedures. So we have this guide we are about to publish to give to people who have interest in that. We have another guide which is actually this guide has an Excel form to make all the calculations on costs and benefits that setting up a community has to think of, so they can make this economical plan ahead. And the third guide is about legal procedures in order to for municipalities to I don't know how to explain it, to give access to people to their roofs, give legal access so that people can put solar panels in public roofs. Okay. There's different legal procedures to do that. I mean, the city council needs to grant this permission. So we have made this third guide is about that. So these are tools. So we help them financially, we help them with the calculation, and we help them with these guides.
Okay, so also tackling the lack of information barrier to the energy communities. Thank you, Isabel. You have another set of questions, but looking at the time, I think we can go directly to a Benedetta question, and then you can answer the other ones in writing later after the forum. So Benedetta, we have one question for you. Do you have tips for communities driven by authorities on how to best engage citizens and potential users? I see that you had some links in your presentation, maybe one of those.
Yes, I mean, I'm sharing the link. We had a Community Energy Academy platform where there are different modules related to the things I touched on. But in general, especially for those communities that are excluded, the engaging with representatives from those communities or developing tailored communications can help in engaging those individuals. In general, it's more like building a sense of shared responsibility, shared community, and so on. So I think that's what matters for individuals.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think now we can go back to the presentations and our agenda. I will just stop sharing my screen.
Can we say hello to Mr. Zabrakakis, who is attending finally in our meeting?
Good
Please.
morning, Dimitris.
Good
and
morning.
Thank you for being here today.
Thank you very much for your invitation, and apologies for not being on time, but another appointment was settled yesterday.
No,
so
don't worry. Don't worry. We adapted the agenda accordingly. But I think that we can have your presentation just now, if it's okay for you.
Yes, of course. Okay, so thank you very much. It is an honor for me and a pleasure to be with you today and give you, I'll try to be a short presentation regarding our energy community. So suppose now that you see my screen.
We can see your screen, but not the presentation. Yeah, now yes, the presentation, not full screen yet.
It should be now.
Yes. Yes. Now, yes.
Okay,
perfect. Thank
excellent.
you.
So very fast, there is a presentation which starts with our island, Crete, which is an island with very high wind potential. It's a blessed island regarding the availability of renewable energy sources. We can find plenty of sites on the island with average annual wind velocities higher than 10 meters per second. And not only that, the important thing is that this wind potential is also available during summer because we have some local winds here in Crete called meltemia, which are configured by the cold air masses we have above the Balkan Peninsula and the hot air atmosphere which exists above the place above the Sahara Desert in Africa. So we have constantly available wind potential, mainly from the northwestern direction, and this gives us a high and qualitative wind potential. Of course, located in the southern part of Europe, we have also very high solar radiation available. Annual cumulative solar radiation at about 2,000 kilowatt hours per square meter, which is a figure only 200 kilowatt hours lower than the value that we meet in the countries of the Middle East. So you can imagine how high also solar potential we have, which is not maybe very popular or very widely known, is the biomass resources we have in Crete from stock farming, from agricultural processes, and of course from the urban organic waste. If we aggregate all these sources, we take this table and we should only see the figure which is located at the bottom and right cell of the table, which gives us that if we aggregate all the heat that we can take from the biomass resources which are available in Crete on annual basis, we can have 2.4 approximately times the heat which is currently produced and supplied for interspace heating from diesel oil. So Crete can be, by all means, an energy self-sufficient island. It seems that the gods of the ancient Greece, the Aeolos, the god of wind, the Demetra, the god of agriculture, the goddess of agriculture, and of course the sun, the god sun, passed some thousands of years ago from the island. They liked it and they have stayed here, and constantly they give us their presence. So there is a big question, a rhetoric question, where we would like to go if we exploit normally, clever, and efficiently this potential. We can have the development or a similar development as we have seen in the in the countries of the Arabic Peninsula. But at the same time, we have also other examples. For example, Nigeria, countries very rich with fossil fuels, but because of a corrupted system and official state, they still remained under a very low standard of living. So far, unfortunately, it seems that we have not taken the correct way. We can see here the map of Crete, which is more or less full of applications and licenses for very few large size investors. We can see that when Crete has, for example, on annual basis, a peak demand of 800 megawatts, we have already applied, and some of them already licensed applications for the issuance or for the development of mainly wind parks in the island, with a total power of 5 gigawatts. Two of them have been licensed, as you can see. And this doesn't happen only in Crete, but also in the whole country and mainly in the insular Greece. And this has raised a lot of reactions against the installation of wind parks. Some of them is in general against the installation of renewable energy projects for electricity production. And this is a very essential, a very big, major problem that we have to face in order to proceed to the energy transition. So what we want is all these, of course, licenses to be recalled because they are not according to our national constitution. And we want the geographical and the electrical space to be free in order to redesign, to replan from the beginning together with the local stakeholders in Crete, the local authorities, the small and very small firms, and of course the academia, and mainly the citizens of Crete, to redesign the energy transition in Crete, how it should be implemented. So this is what we are trying to do with the foundation of the Minoan Energy Community. On the 9th of October 2019, in a small town which is rather unknown, located 25 kilometers to the south of the capital of the island, Iraklio. The name of the town is Arkalοχώρη. Some visionaries, you can say, or I don't know how else I could characterize ourselves, decided to found at that period the Minoan Energy Community, which hopefully so far has been involved in the largest energy community in Greece, in the whole country, with more than 850 members, among which 4 municipalities, you can see them in the map at the bottom right corner of the slide, and the regional authority of Crete. In the next months, we are waiting at least for 4 or even 5 new municipalities to join the community. We have a very clear, specific, and major objective or target, if you prefer, to undertake not a basic, not a fundamental, but the essential, the leading role on how energy transition is going to be implemented in Crete, with what project, how much of them, how much power, in which locations, and above all, with the active participation of the local citizens on this project, in these projects. So far, we have achieved to implement 2 photovoltaic plants. You can see them in these slides with a nominal power that is presented in these boxes. With these photovoltaic plants, more than 300 or 350 members of our community compensate on annual basis their annual electricity consumptions. Yeah, and what is even more important is that with the second project of the 1 megawatt, you see it in the right slide, in the right photo, right picture of this slide. We provide electricity free of charge, completely free of charge, for 50 families, earthquake victims, because in our hometown, we had a very strong earthquake on September 2021, and it affected very dramatically the standard of living and the population of our place. So we decided to select 50 families, earthquake victims, low-income families, to give them free electricity. And in the third project, which is currently under construction, we are going to supply 50 more families again with free electricity. And this, we consider this that it is the first important and practical step we have achieved towards a real treatment of energy poverty in Crete. For all these actions, we were awarded by the European Commission on September 2022 within the frame of the European Union Sustainable Energy Week with the award on the local energy action category, because this was a truly important distinction for our community, which of course gave us a lot of strength and faith to continue our effort. So apart from these two photovoltaics, we have also implemented a project funded by the, I suppose maybe you know it, the quite popular Horizon 2020 project entitled NISI, New Energy Solutions Optimized for Islands. We supplied a proposal with the acronym SAVE. You can see its title in the title of the slide. And within this project, we designed the first, on application level, we designed the first smart grid on the island with decentralized production, storage, and management, and also V2G technologies. And also, we implemented two studies for the energy performance upgrade of two major sport facilities in our hometown in Arkalahori. The municipal sports center, which mainly consists of the municipal swimming pools, and the indoor sports hall. The swimming pool currently is an outdoor facility. We proposed it to be closed. I will try to show you a video. I don't know if the connection will be enough for you to see it. We have here the indoor sports hall. We propose all the passive elements to be replaced with new ones with high insulation efficiency, with solar tubes on the roof for natural lighting for the whole day, and also photovoltaic for electricity production. Here we see the swimming pool, for which a bioclimatic enclosure was designed, which will be can be opened during summer in order to ensure physical ventilation and to avoid overheating of the interspace due to the incident solar radiation and the high heat gains. A very modern design which reflects the natural environment, and in this way the whole construction is integrated in the ambient space. And of course, on the roof, you will see it now. We have also a photovoltaic for energy compensation for net metering production. So in this way, both these facilities will be upgraded to zero energy facilities. For this project, the SAFE project, we gained the second award at the same period, two weeks later, after the first one, again in Brussels, in the frame of another competition, the Islands Game Changer competition, organized by the consortium of NISI and also the Secretariat of the Initiative Clean Energy for EU Islands. So we have started also with the funding of the Regional Authority of Crete, a very ambitious project, because we believe that energy transition should start with the energy awareness, with the capacity building on energy transition topics for the local community. There is a project which will last 18 months. It started last July, and more or less we will deliver more than 60 natural info days, also electronic online materials, tuition materials will be developed, several things. For us, this is very important because we expect that people will be notified on what energy transition is and will also decide to join our community. In February, we will have this February, in less than 2 weeks from today, we will have the first events. So far, we have participated in, or we still participate in 4 European projects. You can see them in this table. The most important is, of course, the last one, the Crete Valley, for which there will be a final reference on a slide. Several events for the local community for our extra version in order to inform the local community for our community for Minoan, and also to invite them to join us in several places, in Arkalohori, in the municipal council of another municipality, the municipality of Llanos, in the commercial and industrial chamber of Iraklio, outside the main administrative building of the regional authority of Crete, which is supplied regarding its electricity consumption by our first photovoltaic project. The opening ceremonies of our two projects with the governor of Crete and some of the mayors of the island also. Meetings and contacts with some of the main stakeholders in the island and in Greece, the academia sector, the local authorities and the Ministry of Energy, of course. Contacts and meetings again with the members of the Greek parliament from all political parties. Participations in the forum of the European Commission initiative on clean energy for EU islands in roads. The photo at the left part of the slide is very important for us because in this photo you can see members of some of the pioneering energy communities of Greek islands. You can see there people from the energy community of the islands of Chalki, of Kassos, of Sifnos, of Simi, and our community, the Minoan Energy. Okay, more or less this, a dedicated video, a promotion video of Greenpeace, which is officially on the international YouTube channel of Greenpeace for our community. A lot of, in any case, a lot of events where our community was presented as a successive case study. We have also tried, and I think we have contributed to expand the concept of energy communities in other islands. We have helped other islands to develop, to establish their own energy communities, as you can see in this slide. And the final act, the final part of this presentation, what we're going to do in the future to install the first photovoltaic parks for the commercial operation, which means that they will sell the electricity to the grid, and the involved member will have an annual benefit, an annual income from these projects. Also, we have designed a small wind turbine station of 120 kilowatt in a place with certified wind potential measurements. You can see here the expected annual electricity production. Very recently, we had at last the first, let's say, reliable wind potential small wind turbine model, which was certified by the responsible authority in Greece, the Center of Renewable Energy Sources, and now we are ready to proceed to the installation also of this plant. We have also developed we have also designed the first wind park of large size. You can see a typical, an indicative siting in this slide, 4 wind turbines of 3 megawatts in total in the wind potential map at the right part of the slide. We are waiting for an official open call from the regulator in order to proceed to the submission of the application and the construction of the project. Of course, we have major projects to face, major problems to face regarding the installation of wind parks. We have reactions from, let's say, the environmentalists, because there are some concerns regarding the potential fatal accidents that they can cause with the birds. We have the reactions by the archaeologists. They don't want to have any optical contact with an archaeological sites in Crete, which are many, and they are everywhere. We have, of course, reactions by owners or, yes, maybe owners of local small touristic facilities. They don't want the wind parks to be also visible from their tourist apartments. And we have also the local community, which has been a little bit quite opponent against wind parks, mainly due to the large applications that you saw in the beginning of the presentation. We have also designed a very large, a very important pumped storage system, which will be able, apart from electricity production, to be exploited for irrigation use. Certainly, we want to exploit the biomass resources we have in Crete for heat production and for cogeneration. And this is the last slide. All these ambitious projects will be for first time implemented within the Crete Valley project. It is a Horizon project which was started on the 1st of December. It will have a duration of 5 years at a total budget of 25 million euros. And we will have four energy valleys. You can see them with these green ellipses figures on the map, where we will install the first district cooling plant powered by an open loop geo-exchange system. We will have the first district heating plant, which will be powered by biogas or biomethane produced by locally available manure from sheep and goats through a cogeneration unit for the concurrent production of electricity and heat. In the third valley, which will be in our place, in our Kalohore, we will have also a second district heating plant powered by solid biomass, which will be produced by the available olive trees pruning. And finally, at the right corner of Crete, there will be the first project for the production of hydrogen with the use of renewable energy sources for the high electrolysis unit. So yeah, this is a very important project for us, and we hope that in the end, we will be able to achieve the very ambitious targets. So Crete, what we're trying to do is to turn our imagination into a reality. Thank you very, very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dimitris, for the very inspirational experience sharing, and congratulations for all the awards you received and the achievements you've had since the beginning of the Minoan Community Adventure. So to the participant, don't hesitate to put your question on the Slido. We'll have the Q&A session just after the next two presentations. And now we will hear Marta Lupatelli, who will introduce a dedicated guide on one-stop shops for energy communities that can also help anyone who wants to set new energy communities. Marta, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Nadesh, for inviting me. So I'm presenting this guidance document that has been developed by the Energy Communities Repository, which is titled Setting Up a Community Energy One-Stop Shops. Nadesh, if you could share my slides. I'm sorry, but my Teams is very slow these days. I don't know why. Thank you very much. Okay, yeah, you can go to the next slide already. Okay, thank you. Fantastic. So this is the book cover of the guidance document. We have already covered the importance of, thank you. We have already covered the importance of one-stop shops, of energy communities, sorry. So we are now covering this emerging let's say, entities, which are energy communities one-stop shops. So for those who don't know it, the Energy Communities Repository is is a European Commission initiative started after the European definitions for energy communities were created. And it was to provide practical support to energy communities and help them take off and advance their clean energy projects. So this is why this topic is pretty relevant in the development of energy communities. So in the next slide, we have the definition of energy communities one-stop shops. So by these, we mean an organization at national, regional, or local level that provides a range of services to energy communities to help them overcome barriers in the process of setting up their organization and or projects at different stages of the process. So the concept of one-stop shops was first conceived in the field of renovation, but now it's expanding and it's covering also the field of energy communities. And this shows that providing this kind of integrated services is getting bigger as the demand is increasing. So here in this slide are listed some points that you may want to take into account if you wish to set up an energy community one-stop shops to support the energy communities at the regional or local level. And these are points, the relevant points according to well-established one-stop shops for energy communities. So we will dig into each point in the next slides. So the first point is define your services and activities, know your context, and identify your priorities. So when setting up a one-stop shop for energy communities, the first element to define are your goals and objectives, as well also the services that you are going to offer. And this may vary depending on the needs of the energy communities in your country or region. And the one-stop shops that have been interviewed for the guidance document, they all based their services on the real needs of energy communities. And they identified those needs by the 4 factors listed in the slide. So regular communication with energy communities, reviewing the barriers to the uptake of energy communities identified at regional and national level, interviewing energy communities directly, and launching surveys to understand the needs of energy communities. So in the next slide, the services that could be provided, the list, of course, is not exhaustive, but it is to provide you with some inspiration for possible activities that you could provide. So the first one is regulatory support that could be provided to energy communities in 2 different ways. The first is informing energy communities about the current regulatory context to understand their options. And this can be of great help to energy communities to identify the best legal setup for their organization or project. The second way is supporting the creation of an enabling regulatory context by, for example, communicating the challenges and needs of energy communities to public authorities. Then the second service that you can provide is insurances, as they are key to limiting the risk of an energy community project. And it can be a challenge to identify or access an affordable insurance scheme that is adapted to the specific needs of an energy community. So to overcome this barrier, some one-stop shops are offering insurance contracts to energy communities. The third service is financing supports. You have 3 examples. The first is informing energy communities about funding programs. The second is providing support and capacity building for financing concepts. So providing, for instance, guidance documents, personal coaching, training sessions. And the third is directly financing them for the one-stop shops that can afford it, of course. Fourth is deploy experts into energy communities to accompany a project. And this expert can go beyond the establishment of, for example, a business plan or investment concept, and can take the form of a project manager within the energy community. Then you can provide tools and softwares to energy communities to help them with their internal management, both for, let's say, the internal organization and also the member management. And last, you can provide trainings to energy communities to help them build their skills. In the next slide, the next thing you may want to take into account is financing your one-stop shop. Of course, it is one of the key elements to deliver your support, and unsurprisingly, it's also one of the main challenges that have been outlined by the one-stop shops interviewed for the guidance document. So, as you can see in the slides, there are different types of funding mechanisms that you may be able to draw upon. You have national, regional, and EU level fundings, but you can also combine different levels of financing support, or you can develop a self-sustaining business model. You may also want to take into account to make yourself known through an effective communication, because reaching a target audience is key to be able to provide your services. So according to the experience from existing and well-established one-stop shops, in addition to traditional communication approaches, the points listed in the slides also have been proven to be effective and have generated impactful results. So you may want to partnering with your local, regional, or national government. You may want to build and capitalize on partnerships and advertise in public spaces. Then the customer journey. It is one of the it is very important and can determine whether a community reaches its objectives through your support or if they feel left alone. So in a negative customer experience, the main issue may be not meeting the community needs and making the community feel lost in the system. But on the other hand, a positive customer experience is characterized by your role. So if, for example, you don't meet the needs of the community, you can put them in contact with the experts while still remaining a contact point for the community, ensuring that their questions are answered. That's your priority, let's say. So in this slide, the steps of the customer journey, very general, very broad, let's say. So usually the energy communities initiate the contact with you through different channels. It can be emails, forums, phone, or even physical office visits. Then at that point, you want to try to understand energy community needs. So identify their problems, define the objectives. And the next step at that point would be bringing experts based on the needs and priorities of the energy community. So, of course, the support varies according to the one-stop shop service structure and also the available resources. The last step is providing support and seek feedback for continuous improvement. So after the service has been provided, always perform some kind of evaluation. So this will also help the one-stop shop to assess the effectiveness of its support and also make adjustment over time. And this links with our next point, which is monitor your impact, because as we said, it will help you gain a better understanding of of the effectiveness of your service offer, and also identify where you can improve and how. So the last point is consider training needs for one-stop shop staff. We covered it during the while covering the services. You want to provide training to energy communities, but you need qualified staff. So the effective implementation of one-stop shop services depends on the capacity of the staff to understand the regulatory and economic context in which energy communities operate, and also the internal functioning of energy communities. So as energy communities are still a relatively new factor, and it's also a brand new topic for many energy experts, there is still a significant need to train the experts who will deliver the one-stop shop services to the energy communities. So this would be all from my side. Thank you, Nadesh.
Thank you very much, Marta, for your very complete presentation on how to set one-stop shops for energy communities. I think we can now dive into the financing aspect with Juris Grayson presentation of Sun for All project results on this front, and this will be the last presentation on the tools and solutions that can tackle the barriers faced by the underground experience that we described earlier. So Juris, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you so much. Hello, good morning, everyone. Yes, it's nice to see all of you today, and also Nadesh, thank you so much for inviting to this forum. So yes, let me share my screen. I hope you can see my screen in a full mode. So yes, my name is Juris Grisans. Yes, I represent eCLANET Local Governments for Sustainability, and it's my great pleasure, yes, to share with you today knowledge experience of the Sunfall project. So I have structured my presentation in a form of questions and answers about the approach, about the principles, and also good practice of the Sunfall project. And so let's start from the beginning. Let's start from the first question. What is the Sunfall project about? So Sunfall project, or the full title of the project, is the Euro Solar for All Energy Communities for a Fair Energy Transition, is a European Union Horizon 2020 funded project. And I would say that the key words of this project are energy poverty, renewable energy sources, just energy transition, and of course financial support scheme. This project is driven by 11 European organizations, and here we are talking about local municipalities, local energy agencies, academia, research institution, non-governmental organization, and the project, this consortium, is coordinated by the Associate Eco Surveys. And I would say, like, the main aim of the project is to help to promote renewable energy access, to make renewable energy more accessible, especially to vulnerable households. I would like to mention that, yes, as probably we know from current practice, and also as current practice shows that, yes, quite many households do not participate in the energy transition for such reason as, and also today we have heard these examples, lack of access to the information, unfortunately difficulties to access financial means, different types of the house ownership, etc. And therefore we've seen with the help of the Sunfall approach, we've seen with the Sunfall project, we are trying to help to engage, to empower, financially empower local residents, vulnerable households, and to show them that with the help of creating energy communities, it's possible to get more wider access to renewable energy, and with the help of knowledge, with the help of empowering, with the help of new skills, with the help of this new renewable energy, to help them to tackle energy poverty and to help themselves to come out of this energy poverty situation. And I would like to mention that Sunfall project sets up a financial support scheme that currently is already running with a success in the United States of America. Specifically, we are talking about the existing New York State initiative, and this is a utility bill assistance program named Solar for All. And now, with the help of the Sunfall project, with the help of the Sunfall pilots, we are adapting this approach into the European context, into the context of the European cities and region. And basically, I would like to mention that this Sunfall support scheme consists of 4 key main elements. So the element number 1 is that the solar energy is generated by the local PV installations, and these local PV installations are owned by the local municipality and located close to the place where the eligible participants live. So here we are talking about the Sunfall beneficiaries and of course their vulnerable households. Depending on the pilot use case, there are 2 options. The option number 1, that this renewable solar energy is either provided for the direct consumption of the Sunfall beneficiaries that are selected with the help of the eligibility criteria, with the help of the selection criteria, or the second case, this energy that is produced by the local PV installation are fed into the local power grid. The next also important element of this financial support scheme that Sunfall beneficiaries continue to get electricity as usual with no need to install or maintain some solar panel. Because of course we understand that it would be maybe a little bit complex for the vulnerable households without enough knowledge and skills to start care the management from the beginning. So we are implementing step by step this approach. And basically the key element number 4, I would like to mention that yes, through this financial support scheme, and of course its redistribution, design redistribution mechanism at the local level, Sunfall participants, vulnerable households financially benefit from the renewable energy produced and its value as well. But also I would like to mention that it's important also to say that of course participants of the Sunfall financial support scheme, vulnerable households, they do not receive only this financial proactive support, I would say, but also they receive non-financial support as well from the project, from the local municipalities, basically from the stakeholders who join, who participate in this scheme. So here we are talking about that they receive an advice on efficient energy consumption and energy management return, basically how to read correctly energy bills, how to understand how efficiently do they use energy, for example, during the summer or during the winter, what could be the tips, for example, how to learn how to improve their energy efficiency, how to reduce their energy bills. Of course, they receive also invitation to the different capacity building and knowledge sharing workshops, for example, about the energy rights, about the energy efficiency. And of course, they also receive an opportunity to participate and also to visit the PV installation places in order to learn more about the generation of solar energy, and again to understand how PV installation works, how the system works, and also how renewable energy is produced. The next question, of course, who are testing and implementing the Sunfall scheme? Who are the Sunfall pioneers, I would say, in Europe? So basically, we are having 4 case studies for pilot, and yes, here we are talking about municipality of Almada in Portugal, municipality of Barcelona in Spain, the region of Côte d'Ivoire in France, and also municipality of Rome in Italy. So these are Sunfall pilots who are currently implementing, who are currently testing the Sunfall approach into the European Union context. Of course, it's important to say that each of our pilots, each of Sunfall pilots had the same starting point. But of course, while implementing, while designing, I would say this approach, how to select, how to define this eligibility criteria, how to start to develop the multi-stakeholder group, how to design administrative procedures, etc., etc., each of them, of course, has developed their own implementation, I would say, line of activities, again, in order to meet local needs. For example, in case of Almada, the focus is on the residents of the social housing buildings, and this PV installation are located on the rooftop of this building where the vulnerable households live. For example, in case of Barcelona, the focus is on inhabitants of the buildings, with the installation of PV panel on the rooftop. But again, looking into the future, how to link this approach with the local neighborhood development plan, with the local neighborhood regeneration plan as well. In the case of the Côte d'Azur, there are like two approaches, I would say. First of all, this is a focus on the vulnerable households, yes, who are suffering from the higher energy cost. And first of all, municipalities focusing on redistribution of the benefit of energy selling from the Côte d'Azur existing solar power plants, and looking into the future again how to promote this collective self-consumption process. But for example, in case of Rome municipality, here we are talking about of installation of PV panel on the rooftop of the public buildings like kindergarten, school, sports center, and again supporting vulnerable households who live close to this building. The next one I would like to say that of course one of the goals of the Sunfall is to promote this approach, to make it more replicable, more sustainable, and therefore yes, with the help of the open call, Sunfall project has created the Sunfall community of practice, and here we are talking about European cities and utilities who are currently working hand in hand with the Sunfall pilots, and yes, receiving mentorship support from the Sunfall project, receiving a financial support, receiving an opportunity to participate in the study visits, on the online meetings, and again to develop social dialogue with the local residents, with the vulnerable households, and to develop the Sunfall sustainable implementation plan that will meet specifically local needs. The next one, of course, I would like to mention that yes, of course, one of the key points of the Sunfall project is focus on the financial empowerment. And here again, summarizing experience and knowledge of the Sunfall pilots, I would say that key elements as development of the strategy of engagement, and here, yes, as an example could be this implementation of the information campaign, of course, promotion and implementation of this different type of recruitment action as well. It's one part, and the second part, of course, we are talking about the development of the community work plan for the communication, first of all with the beneficiaries, again using different types of activities, communication with a broader community, and of course with the community strategy activities as well, organizing workshops, organizing visits to the PV installation, organizing individual energy advice session, and also supporting different type of mentoring program as well. As the next one, I would like to mention how can other cities, all other interested stakeholders learn and benefit from the Sunfall project. I would like to mention and also maybe use this opportunity that Sunfall project has developed and also has started to implement the Sunfall capacity building and knowledge sharing program. This is a set of online and on-site activities. Therefore, I would like to invite all interested stakeholders, of course, to learn more about the Sunfall capacity building and knowledge sharing program, of course, to participate in the upcoming national technical visits, to participate in the national capacity building and policy developing webinars as well. And therefore, of course, at the end of my presentation, yes, I would like to share maybe some tips how to learn more and how to stay in contact with the Sunfall. Of course, I would like warmly welcome you to visit the Sunfall project website, to visit specifically the section on the Sunfall deliverables, available knowledge resources, of course, to watch inspirational video on the Sunfall project, on our pilot, to listen interview with the Sunfall representatives, with the beneficiary representative as well. Of course, to follow the Sunfall project on the social media account. And of course, you are welcome to leave us your contact information. And of course, we would be happy, yes, to include you in the mailing list of the Sunfall project and to invite to all upcoming Sunfall capacity building and knowledge sharing events and activities. So yes, this is my last slide. I would like to thank you for your attention, and I would like to give back floor to Nadesh.
Thank you, Juris, for your presentation of the Sunfall project. Let's looking at the time also, let's dive directly to the Q&A sessions for the last three presentations, and then after we'll have the input from ePLANET platform with the presentation of Gerard Laguna. So here you have the questions. The first one is directed to Dimitris. So many thanks again for your presentation. The rapid development of Minoan is impressive. Where did you find the expertise to reach those goals?
Okay, we are lucky here in Crete because we have 3 universities. We have technical chamber, commercial and industrial chamber. In Minoan, we are more than 10 faculty members, and we have a scientific team, a kernel of members which are active and have also the willingness to participate on a voluntary basis. More than 15, 20, something like that. So we like what we do. We worked a lot. We spent a lot of time during the last years working on this voluntary basis, and that's how it was evolved in this way.
Okay, interesting. And that leads to a question that I have myself, maybe, on who is a member of the energy community. You mentioned universities. Are there members of Minoan, or how does it work?
We have physical individuals, first of all. We have 4 municipalities, the regional authority of Crete, as I mentioned before. And we have faculty members, namely professors, experts on energy, on economics, on informatics, on several fields of sciences, which are relevant to what we're doing.
That's really interesting and really an advantage for you to have all this knowledge in Crete and to build on it. Thank you for your answers. So next question, yeah, it's about the guide, but I think Marta, you've put the link in the chat, so it's okay. But we still have another question for you, Marta. Do you have good examples of energy community one-stop shops?
Yes, of course. So the guidance document was developed gathering information from well-established energy communities one-stop shops. So in the guidance document at the very beginning, there are also the names of these well-established one-stop shops, and through the guidance document, also the services that they provide. So as we know, I mean, one-stop shops, what really characterizes them is the context specificity. So each of them distinguishes itself for different reasons. So you will see it in the guidance document. But yeah, they interviewed 9 across Europe.
Okay, so have a look at the guidance then. And then we have one last question on the Zone 4 project. Does the project also tackle the legislative barriers in the different regions?
Yes, thank you for your question. And yes, answering your question, I also put some examples also in this chat. Yes, definitely the answer is positive. Yes, as maybe designing and planning the implementation of this financial support scheme, one of the aspects, of course, behind, I would say, maybe financial implementation, financial efficiency, administrative efficiency. Of course, we are talking about this legal requirements, and that's why also already Sunfall project team has created this report on the European Union framework on energy communities. And also, yes, I put the link in the chat. It's like one case, and the second case, yes, also the Sunfall project has created a comparative analysis of the regulatory framework in the Sunfall pilot cities, again to understand the legal context and how each of the pilot is trying maybe to adapt this approach with respect to the legal context. And also I would like to tell thank you as Benedetta, who also put into the chat the link to the 2 upcoming events. It will be eClear Europe Breakfast at Sustainability session. Again, the session will be organized in collaboration between the EC Square project presented today by Benedetta and also the Sunfall project. And yes, these 2 upcoming events, they will focus specifically on this, I would say, maybe legal aspects and also policy context of energy communities and also of implementation of this approach of energy communities access to renewable energy and promoting this financial support scheme.
Thank you, Juris. So now I'm very sorry because we have very few minutes. It's already 59, but we had planned an intervention from Gerard Laguna on the ePLANET platform. So Gerard, yes, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. I'm sharing my screen. Hopefully you can see it. I'm going to be very brief as we are a bit late in the schedule. I'm Gerard Laguna. I'm from Cimne. I'm working in the Planet project. And I'm going to briefly talk about some of the developments that we have made in the project that links very well with energy communities. First, we made a PV potential analysis, and then the energy consumption monitoring, that we believe that there are two big pillars in most of the energy communities which are based in PV. So first, for the PV potential analysis, we have developed a tool in which, from the LiDAR scan of one region, we can identify the buildings and we know all the heights, and then we analyzed all this data in order to know which are the rooftops that we have, which tilt they have, and all the potential that they have, taking in account all the shadows from all the surrounding. So at the end, we are analyzing the PV potential that have this rooftop. To do so, we are using this LiDAR data that I was saying, and then we are also using the cadastre data in which we know the shape of the building. From this data, we split it in two. First, one part which is this first one for the building segment for the building segmentation, which is the actual building, all the heights that we have from this building, and then we have the second part, which is an STL, so a 3D model of all the surroundings from all this building in order to know all the shadows that this rooftop could have. So with this, we end up, after some data treatment, we know all the shadows, so all the heights that we have in the rooftop. We identify all the covers from all these rooftops, and then we get the PV potential from each rooftop that we identify, from each rooftop plane that we identified. At the end, we are presenting these results to the partners of the project in a form of a report in which we have analyzed all the buildings that they asked us to analyze, which in this case were public buildings, in which we identify the building, we identify all the planes from the rooftop, we identify the potential, and then as we identify all the full potential of all the area, it's interesting to know, to discretize which area produces which energy. So at the end, we make a more detailed table in which from each one of the planes, we identify the zones with, by the potential and their area. That this is, from our point of view, a really useful information for them in order to plan which area from their rooftop they want to use for producing PV for self-consumption or for selling or for energy communities. And then the other side of the coin is, for one side, the production, and for the other side, analyze the building energy consumption. In this case, we have the ePLANET platform, which is available for all the pilots from the project, in which we have all the data from the public buildings from the regions, in which you can analyze the energy consumption building by building, and then knowing their energy curve, is they fit to the generation, the estimated generation or not. And then you can also classify all the buildings by energy consumption and by consumption type, if they are gas, if they are using gas, if they are using electricity. So we have all this data integrated, and also what is really valuable for energy communities is the aggregation of all these energy consumptions. So we aggregate all the energy consumption from many buildings, in which this could be representative of an energy community, and with this data linked with their potential of PV generation, we can estimate the percentage of self-consumption of these buildings, and if they are more suitable or not to be part of the supposed energy community. So this is a bit briefly the outcomes that we have been made in the ePLANET project, that we believe they are really helpful for developing energy communities. Thank you, Nadesh.
Yes, thank you, Jad, for this input on the ePLANET platform that can also be useful for energy communities. So I apologize everyone for the delay. If you have questions to Gerard, please feel free to reach out to him directly or to put on the chat. We will also have another stakeholder forum. The next stakeholder forum will also dive into the topic of the PV potential analysis and also renewable potentials. So you can also ask your question during this next stakeholder forum. That you are very invited, very warmly invited to follow, and you will receive all the information by email. But you can also follow us on the social media to have more insights and to also don't miss the next stakeholder forum. I would also thank again all the speakers for the very interesting and inspiring presentations, and the participants for taking the time to listen to us today. I would just, before closing the meeting, show the Slido. So we have a Slido questionnaires to gather your feedback. It's a very short questionnaire, and it helps us to improve the forums for it to better fit your needs. So please take the time to answer this questionnaire. Yes, I already explained you the topic for the next stakeholder forum. Thank you very much again for being here today, and have a good rest of the day. And don't forget to complete. I see that already 2 participants are responding to the small survey. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye
Thanks.
bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.